To create a cable tray, on the Systems ribbon, in the Electrical panel, select Cable Tray to activate the Cable Tray tool. The ribbon changes to the Modify Place Cable Tray contextual ribbon, and the options bar contains options for creating cable trays. Also, the Properties palette changes and the Type selector contains a list of cable tray types in the current project. Take note that you can create cable trays in Plan, Elevation, Section, and 3D views. I'll click Edit Type in the Properties palette to open the Type Properties dialog. Looking in the Family drop-down, you can see that cable trays are a system family. When I expand the drop-down, you can see that there are actually two system families for cable trays: Cable Tray with Fittings and Cable Tray without fittings. Both families actually use cable tray fittings in Revit to model the cable trays properly. However, the Cable Tray without fittings family does not show the fittings in order for the elements to look like cable trays without actual fittings. System families cannot be created or deleted. However, you can create as many family types as needed for each system family. For example, when I expand the Type drop-down for Cable Tray with Fittings, you can see that there are several types, such as Channel, Ladder, Solid Bottom, and so on. The various type parameters make up the family type definition. Both system families have a bend radius multiplier parameter to control the bend radius. Then you can control the various fittings for the cable tray type. For the cable tray without fittings family, you cannot specify a T or cross fitting. To change a fitting used for the specified type, simply click in the field and expand the drop-down. However, realize that you will only be able to select fittings that have been loaded into the project. If a fitting that you want to use is not loaded, you will need to load it into the project first. The other parameters are under Identity Data and can be used to add additional detail to the cable trays for schedules and tags. I'll click Cancel to close the Type Properties dialog. Before creating a cable tray, there are several options you should take a look at. In the Contextual ribbon, you can select Justification to open the Justification Setting dialog. Here, you can control the horizontal justification, horizontal offset, and vertical justification. Realize that the justification parameters also appear in the Properties palette. The justification settings control which edges of the cable tray will be aligned when created. The horizontal offset specifies an offset between where you click in the drawing area and where the cable tray is actually created. The horizontal justification can be center, left, or right, and the vertical justification can be middle, bottom, or top. Be aware that using justifications other than center and middle can be tricky when connecting the cable tray to electrical equipment. I'll click Cancel to close the dialog. The remaining buttons in the Placement Tools panel of the Contextual ribbon are actually toggles. Automatically Connect lets you automatically connect to the snaps on a component, such as electrical equipment or other cable tray segments, when starting or ending a cable tray segment. For example, when you want to quickly connect cable trays at different elevations without switching to a section view, you can use Automatically Connect to create a vertical segment between two horizontal segments. Inherit Elevation inherits the elevation of the element being snapped to, and Inherit Size inherits the size of the element being snapped to when creating a cable tray segment. In the Tag panel, Tag on Placement is a toggle as well. When selected, the button has a dark background, and a tag will be added when you place a cable tray. If you toggle this off, the background lightens and a tag will not be included when you place a cable tray. If you later decide to add a tag, Revit includes a function to tag untagged elements. I'll toggle this back on again. When tags are included, notice that in the options bar, you have a choice of placing the tags either horizontal or vertical. You can click the Tags button to display the Loaded Tags dialog, so you can see which tags are loaded and load other tags if you wish. I'll click Cancel to close this dialog. You can also enable a leader if desired, and then specify the length of the leader. I'll leave this checkbox cleared for now. You can also control the width and height of the cable tray segment, along with the offset before you create a cable tray segment. You can also control these parameters after a cable tray has been created. Realize that the offset is the distance above the reference level, which is shown in the Properties palette. I'll leave these settings at the default values and move into the drawing area. I can see in the status bar that Revit is prompting me to click to enter the cable tray start point. When I click, I can see a preview of the cable tray as well as listening dimensions. Revit shows the length of the cable tray as well as the angle. I can move my cursor in any direction. When the cable tray is aligned vertically or horizontally, Revit displays a tooltip to inform me. To create the cable tray segment, I can click to enter the cable tray endpoint, or type a specific distance and then press Enter. For example, I'll type 30 to create a cable tray segment 30 feet long, or 9,000 in the metric file to create a cable tray segment 9,000 millimeters long, and then press Enter. Next, I'll move the cursor straight down and click to place a vertical cable tray segment. As you can see, a bend was automatically created to connect the cable tray segments. The bend fitting that was placed is defined in the Type Properties, which we looked at earlier. Realize that the cable tray tool is still active, and the start point of the next segment will be placed at the end of the segment we just created. To start a new cable tray segment at another location, you can press the Escape key once to begin placing a new segment. Now I'll change to one of the cable tray without fittings types. I'll create another horizontal and vertical segment so that we can see the differences. To end the command, click Modify in the ribbon. As you can see, the cable tray without fittings type appears to be continuous without any fittings. However, when I move the cursor over the bend, you can see that there is actually a bend fitting present. Now when I select a cable tray, the ribbon changes to the Modify Cable Trays contextual ribbon. The Options bar and Properties palette also populate with the cable tray's parameters. If needed, you can modify any of these parameters after the cable tray has been created.